Well, hello and welcome to another video by yours truly. What I'm going to show you today is how I did this background using water-based markers and a little bit of VersaFine inks on top. So this is what I did for the last Chocolate Baroque TV show on Create and Craft, and I like it. It's a nice background, it's a good size stamp. This is the stamp I will be using, which is the Holly 14 centimeter square stamp. So I'm going to place that down on my stamping platform, and then I will give you the things that we will need. So what I've got down on here where my hand is a piece of watercolor cartridge, water paper, watercolor. So that's down on there, secured by my magnets, making sure that it's tucked right into the edges here, because that's quite important. And also we need to keep the stamp in the same position. So the other things we are going to need are, in no particular order, the crucial thing here when we do the first aspect of this design, you need water-based markers. So your distress markers, so because they've got a brush tip, which is what we're going to be using. So arrange your colour in your distress markers. I've got some, you can use some Marvy brush markers, so those, and then any other brush markers that you happen to have, as long as they're water-based. That's the crucial thing at the moment. As long as they are water-based, that's absolutely fine. That's what you need. And then we need a fine mister, so that's what I've got here. It's just filled with water, so that's all we need. And a few later on, VersaFine ink pads. Now I've got the little square ones here. If you've got the VersaClair ink pads, that's absolutely fine. So basically what you want at the very last stage is a waterproof ink pad. So if you've got those, then all good, all is good. So let's start. So what we're going to do with the brush tip part of the markers, I'm just going to lay down colour on the stamp. So I'm going directly onto the stamp with my brush marker. This will all become crystal clear in a moment or two, and there's no particular what am I trying to say, order of putting the colour down. And of course, if you want to use the more like modern colours, like your mauves, your pinks, your purples, and if you've got that in water-based markers, then yes, obviously you can do that as well. So I'm just concentrating on the veins of my holly leaves and going around the edge. And don't worry about the ink drying, because we will be doing that. We'll be sorting that out, hence why we be using the, just got to lay down another oh, excuse me, colour on the brush marker. So I'm just going to use this to give you an idea. This is Shabby Shutters, and the one I've used first was Forest Moss, which is slightly darker. And again, it just adds interest to your stamp. So you just carry on inking up the holly leaves with your brush marker. I'm just going to go in with another one. What have I got here? Use a bit of this one. Just to vary it a little bit. Do a bit of the veins. Do something along there, What have we got there? Right, and also what we need now is some red for the berries, and I'm using obviously a red here. So I'm just gonna go over where the berries are in a red. So as I say, any water-based marker is good for this. And also you're going to get different results every time. So let's do a little bit of it. So you've got a little bit of solid rubber around the edge here, which is fine. So just squiggle it around, and you've got a bit of texture here, so a bit of, and also in the middle here where the stamp. So just make sure you've got areas covered with your colours, and it doesn't matter how many colours or how few colours you use. You can use one colour, that'll be equally as interesting. So I think that's about it. I'm quite happy with that. So water mister, make sure you get it right the right way around. Give it a few generous squirts. I think that will be enough. Put that back, we don't need that. And then down we go. And what you need to do is just allow this to soak into the watercolor cartridge, and just be patient with it, and just allow the inks and the colors to all do their job. So that should be, oh yes, I like that, it's quite nice. So what we need to do now is, I have got spare pieces of card, so I'm just going to lay that over the top of this one for the time, soak up the excess moisture, and as I lift it up, you've got a very pale, which you can use as a background. So just keep that. And then I've got another piece here, which I'm going to lay on top of the stamp, because there's still quite a bit of ink on that. So use that. Don't want to keep wasting it. Be economical with your inks. And then we have another one. So you have basically, through that one pass, done 2 backgrounds. Now don't be concerned about this one too much, because you can always put a die cut or sentiment down there. You've still got a bit of holly, what have you, and you can still over stamp it, so don't waste it. Same with that, you can use that as a background, and it doesn't need very much. So don't waste it. So there you go. Now, going back to our originals, what we need to do is make sure that one's dry and this is cleaned. So I'm going to go in with my stamp cleaner and just give this a quick clean. I want to make sure that is absolutely cleaned before I use my next load of stamp pads. I'm just going to get a clean baby wipe. And then just give this a quick clean. I mean, those of you who've seen my videos before, I mean, if you like what you see, please subscribe and like below, so when I do new ones you'll be notified that I've actually done one. So yes, if you do like what I've done, then please like and subscribe below. That'd be absolutely awesome. So thank you for doing that. Right, let's clean this, make sure it's absolutely perfectly dry. A little bit down in there. And as you notice, I haven't moved the stamp, it's staying exactly where it is. And I'm just going to give this a quick clean with my little mat here. And that is absolutely perfectly dry, so that I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to give this a quick blast with my heat gun, so excuse the noise. So cool, that's that. I'm going to unplug this because we won't be needing this anymore. So before I have a accident, so that can go away. Right, so back to our ink pads. So I have got Satin Red Versafine and Spanish Moss Versafine and Olympia Green Versafine. So let's start with the red, and I'm obviously, because it's red, I'm just going to go in around the holly berries and just using the tip of the ink pad. I'm not doing anything really I'm not being very precious where I put the ink. Obviously I just want it around the berries, and if I've got a little bit of colour that would be absolutely brilliant. Oh, there's a little few up there in the corner, just up there, so we can finish with that one. And I'm just going to go in with the darker green, which is the Olympia green, and I'm just gonna, I just want the veins to stick out a little bit. So again, I'm just using, and it doesn't matter if you get a little bit somewhere else, that's absolutely fine. And as I said earlier, when you do this technique, it's going to be different all the time. So we've got a lighter green here, so I'm just gonna do a little bit around the edge. I'm not going to be too bothered about, and a little bit in the middle. I think, see how that goes, leave that exactly where it is, and then press that down, and again allow the ink just to soak into and sit on top and go on top of the card. And then when you lift it up, you have got that. So you've got the background, and you've defined where your berries are, and you've also got more definition on the holly leaves. So put that to one side, and again we will clean our stamp. put that to one side, clean the stamp, and then we will finish our card. So a bit of a wet wipe just to clean this up. Just to mop up the excess. You just need a bit more in there because I could just see. I'm just really conscious because the thing is, because I've used dark colours, if I didn't clean this and then I went in with a VersaFine or clear ink pad, I'll stain the clear ink pad, and obviously that's one thing I do want to avoid doing. I've been there, done that, and it's not very good. This is why I take the trouble of cleaning my stamps. And not only that, you know, once they're clean and you've got them clean, you know when you come to use it the next time you can use anything on it. So that's why I'm really quite meticulous in cleaning ink pads and cleaning stamps. So that can go away. Now what we're going to do is bring our piece of artwork back in, and we are going to trim this down eventually to a 5-inch square. So I'm just going to trim off the excess watercolour and keep those bits. Right, so I want this now. I'm just gonna trim this, get rid of the white edges a little bit. So I'm just gonna trim that down a little bit further. And then finally, right, so what I'm going to do now is trim this down to a 5-inch square roughly. So there we go. Put that back, and then get rid of those, and then get rid of that back into your watercolor card. So we put these back, and we finish with those. We don't need them anymore, so put these back, put them back, put them back, put them back, put them back. So what we can do now is let and lay out our card. So what we do need now is some double-sided tape on the back of your piece of artwork. And to finish the card, you can stamp a sentiment and then matte and layer it and put it and place that onto your card. You can add a ribbon if you want to, a bow, that'd be quite nice, or die cut a sentiment. I mean, there's loads of sentiments out there. So I have cut this down to 5 inches, so you need a 5¼ inch let me just get my pokey tool, better. Right, so yeah, so I will give you the measurements. So we've got a piece of, so our piece of artwork is a 5-inch square. You would need a 5¼ inch piece of green cardstock, and then a 5.5-inch gold cardstock. So starting with the dark green. Also, if you wanted to get rid of the white, edge, you just go around with a distress ink pad. I will do that for you now, and that will just get rid of the or actually you can actually use the brush marker. So all you do is just go around the edge, and that will get rid of the white edge if you really want to. If you like really precious about white edges, you can get rid of it just like that. And that's absolutely fine. And also, if you think you've got too much of a white areas around, I mean, I quite like it at the moment, you can just go in with a bit of distress ink, go over the edges if you want to, and distress it a little bit more. I'm not going to bother because I'm not going to waste time. I just wanted to show you this technique and how I achieved it and got to it. So it's that one. Let's just take that one out again. Just fold it back down. There we go. I haven't straightened that up properly, but hey ho. Right, and then onto the last bit. A bit of double-sided down on all four sides again. And again, if you find you have difficulty lifting the double-sided, get your bone folder and then just go over, and it just makes it adhere to the card that much better. And then you should be able to peel it off a lot more easy, says I. There we go. I don't know what the weather's like up or wherever you are, but it's pouring with rain down here. I'm in Plymouth, which is right down in the southwest of England. I'm on the pointy bit, for want of a, on the southwest peninsula. So I live in Plymouth. So yes, miles away from anywhere. But the house that we've got is overlooking the river, which is quite nice, the River Tamar, and I can see Cornwall, which is the next county down, which is quite nice. And so yes, it's a lovely part of the country. So that's our card blank done, or topper, or whatever you would like to call it. So now the final stage is a bit more double-sided. So on all four sides, and then we can then mat and layer it onto our card. And there you have one completed Christmas card. So let's get our pokey tool again. Let's just give these a rub down so they're easier to lift off. Just like that. And then now I'm going to mat this onto a 6-inch square card blank. So make those, and obviously I want to be a bit careful. let's have it tenfold. So let's have it that way. And I think that would be good. Quite happy with that. And there we have our tenfold card. So there we go. And I'll just give you those measurements again. So we trimmed our piece of artwork down to a 5-inch square, and then we mat and layered it onto a 5 1/4 inch green cardstock, and then a 5 1/2 inch gold mirror card, which is then all mounted onto a 6-inch card blank, tenfold, or you can have it that way, depends whatever way you like it. And then all it needs on there now is a die cut sentiment or a stamped Merry Christmas or something. Okay, so there you go. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, just like and subscribe below. That'd be absolutely brilliant. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Bye.